remember?
known on the island, you see, and I suppose he thought it might cause a bit of gossip.
During the Depression, do you remember much of what it was like during the Depression? Was it very depressed in England? Were there a lot of people out of work and stuff?
Whoa.
When the big strike was on.
Yes, that was in, what was it, the year? There was a big depression on there, tremendous big strike too. I was working then.
Mm-hmm.
I carried on work.
That must have been before the 20s.
Before the 20s?
Mm.
Yes. I was born in 1904, and I'd be 16 then.
Yeah. Well, you were only an apprentice then at the time, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh. Can't quite remember that now.
Well, you couldn't have been much older than 16 or 17.
No, perhaps not. I'm thinking of a later date than that.
Oh.
Yeah, well, when I said the Depression, I was thinking of the 1930s, the early 1930s. At least here, it was the Great Depression when
Yeah, I was about
stock
26.
market crashed.
Yeah, so I was about 26 then, and there was a big strike on.
Oh.
The, more or less, I don't know if it was a miners' strike or what, but there was a tremendous big strike on, and everybody stopped work for some reason. But as I say, I was, I went to work. I was working for a small man then, and we carried on work during that time.
And you didn't have a lot of people, I mean, here they had bread lines in the cities.
No.
They had,
I don't think so.
I can't remember.
No, I don't think so. Not to my knowledge anyway.
No. I can't remember that.
No, I can't really. No.
So what kinds of things are really different about what it was like when you were a kid and what it's like for children today? I mean, if you compare.
The children of yesterday to the children of today.
Well,
Oh, they've got it much better, much easier now. But are they any happier?
well,
I don't think they
in
are.
those days, they couldn't afford shoes and socks. They used to run about barefooted in those days, where they're better off today.
Yeah. They are much better off today, but it makes you wonder sometimes, I mean, are they happier than the children then? Because they knew nothing else. Did they?
No.
You know, behind the water carts without this, you do remember them?
And there's only one place for them to go if they were destitute, and that was the workhouse.
Yeah. Oh yes, I remember
Yeah.
you know, seeing which would be old then, in about their 50s, they would be old, wouldn't
Yeah.
they? And going off to the workhouse.
Yeah.
The people that you knew?
Well, people that lived on the island, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I mean, they're better off now because they don't have that.
No.
Yeah, we were happy, weren't we, somehow?
Oh, yeah. Well, we weren't too bad off.
No, we
You see,
weren't.
we weren't too bad off because we had old grandfather's schools and his green grocer and all that.
Yes.
Dad was at work all the time.
Yes,
in the football line, so
we were.
we never suffered really.
No, we didn't. We were lucky that way, see, and there was always plenty of food. We never went without during the First World War,
Oh no,
did we?
no.
And see, one shopkeeper would keep in with another. The baker would break white bread for grandfather because he would eat the dark brown or black, whatever it was, and and he would let them have potatoes or whatever was on short supply. And so that's how the shopkeepers, you know, really
Yeah.
helped one another that way. And we never went short of anything. I can never remember going short of anything.
I know. No.
Do you remember what kinds of things you really enjoyed when you were little kids? Like what did you look forward to or hope would happen, or
Well, mostly playing in the streets.
really?
Yeah. Mostly playing it either rounders or hopscotch or whatever you, different cricket perhaps.
Going to school with I can always remember going up to school with a satchel, instead of having a satchel full of books, it was a satchel full of cherries or something like that, you know, the first lot of cherries in, and Mum would say, "Go on, don't let Grandad see you."
And do you remember as children what you thought, did you think about growing up and what you'd do when you grew up?
No, not really, but
I was always glad of that. I always had it in my mind that I hope Grandad sold the shop before I was old enough to go in to it, because as each of them got older, they were putting the shop to work, weren't you, or on the rounds.
oh yeah.
And that was one thing I dreaded. I hoped that he would sell it, and he did. He sold it. Must have guessed what I was thinking. He sold his shop when I was about 10.
Yeah. And I know there was Thorns, they were builders, and they were directors of Millwall Football Club. And Dad spoke to them that because he worked for them more or less, you see, or what have you, and that's how I became a plasterer, through the builder there. And they said, well, plastering is a good trade. And right, I took up plastering.
And you never thought of changing it, or never said, oh,
No. I loved it. It was a dirty trade, really, but oh no, I'd never give up for that. Never. I just didn't like it. And there was a lot to learn in that trade too.
And what about sort of practical things and like doing the laundry and cooking?
Oh, I
How
don't
was
think
that?
we had laundries.
So what did you do? What?
Well, you wash them in the old copper. Oil them up in the old copper, you see, with the fire underneath. Yeah, there's no laundries about then.
And what did you use to wash them with? I don't think
Well,
they
I
had
had
boxes
kind
of
of what they
detergent.
you didn't have a kitchen then. You had what they called a scullery.
Mm-hmm.
And the copper would be in the scullery and the tap. And they had the big sink bath that you would take the clothes out of the copper into the sink bath, and a washing board, you know what they are?
Yeah.
And scrub them up and down the washing board. And then rinse them, put them on the line, and it was, Monday was usually the day for washing.
And then did you iron them with,
Mothers did.
and what kind of, the irons that they had?
Oh,
to
the
use?
iron you put in front of the fire
Mhm.
to get hot. There's potatoes on them.
Yeah,
Sink
no
them.
electric then.
And no, just iron them like that. Monday was a horrible day for when you're kids. The house is full of steam. You have what potluck, you know, really for your dinner. But they all took it in their stride. Well, there was nothing else to do, only do it that way.
Mhm.
And they took great pride in their, or most of them, in their steps, didn't they? You know, the step, they would half stone that, make it all nice and white. And this used to look nice
What
for
was
the
that?
people when they used to go and scrub their steps and half
Oh,
stone
yes,
them.
oh, yeah.
They took a pride in doing that, didn't they? That was,
Yeah. Yes, because quite a lot of the houses had a half basement,
Mhm.
and you had about 6 steps to go up onto the, say, the first floor and up above. They used to keep those lovely, those steps.
Yeah, and a lot of the women, when they would sit on their top step, wouldn't they, the
Yeah,
nice evenings, you know, all the way along the road,
Yeah.
you'd see them, that one to them ones.
yeah. Shelling their peas and whatever.
Yeah,
And talking to one another? is
Oh,
that-
yes. Yeah.
oh yeah. We always knew one as Aunt Sarah. She was no relation at all, but she was huge. How she got up the steps and
Aunt
sat on
Sarah,
it.
yeah.
But we always, everyone, she was known as Aunt Sarah to everyone. I remember can you remember the Aunt Sally's that used to come around the street?
Yeah,
Aunt
yeah.
Sally's,
Oh, yeah, yes.
men.
Yeah, they used to have a big barrow and all decorations and everything on it. I forget what it was all
There were
about.
men dressed up
And
as
dressed up,
women.
yeah, and all that. They used to call them Aunt Sally's, and that was a special day, I think, when they
Yeah, must
came
have
round.
been. Because there was
Can't remember what it was all about.
No. big barrel organs, you know, they used to play those, didn't they, there in the streets, and Muffin Man, I can remember the Muffin Man coming
Oh, yeah.
round.
Yeah, Muffin Man, yeah.
His big
Not all
tray.
that long ago when they died out, really, the Muffin Man.
Really?
Uh,
And they sold muffins, I guess?
Yeah, oh yeah, she
had
sold
on
muffins.
their head and a bell calling out for muffins. I can remember my grandmother talking about all the cries of London, how they gradually died out, you know, but they said it used to be like, yeah, different cries of them selling their wares.
Mm-hmm.
But like you see it, I mean, all you can remember is the Muffin Man used to come around in Lavender, I think,
Yeah,
sometimes, but
the organ grinder,
yeah.
knives to sharpen. All used to come round.
Mm. And the milkmen, they used to come round with their barrow with a big churning out and his metal measure and pour it into like a little metal
Container.
container, yes, with a
With a lid on the
lid
top,
to it.
yeah.
And then they gradually died out, and then people took their jugs to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
milkman until it's got up to through glass to cartons now, hasn't it?
Yeah, because the local milkman on the island, he had his own cows there.
Oh, really?
I used to have a kind of a, what I suppose you'd call it, a stable where he would stable them overnight and milk them and all that, and then put them out in the morning out in the field there.
Well, that photo you've got the grandparents there, they've got a cover at the back. Well, they used to stable their horse in there. My aunt had these shop, it was a kind of a shop, and this little, well, I suppose from her back wall to the stable was no wider than this.
That's right.
Was it? And so many they were allowed to do things like that. Couldn't do it now. And the horse used to be stapled in
Yeah.
there.
And horses are sensible. Because we had an old pie ball there. And any time I drove it, which wasn't a lot, he knew an old monk was there. He'd just creep along like that. And then another time in the commercial road there, is quite clear for a long way. And away he's galloping like this. And until he gets to that, meets up with the traffic and he just stops and crawls along again. He said, I've got an old mug here driving me. And there was another one, a lady horse there, and I forget the name, but they used to unharness her and send her over to her stable. She knew where to go to her stables. Then her mum or Ginny or one of them call her, and she start coming back again. So they say, go on back, go on over. And she start trotting back to her stable. They kept on with her like that. she go back and finish.
So most people who had these shops had a horse
Yeah.
to do deliveries with?
Yes, that's it.
Did you ever ride the horse, or was it always
No,
driven?
never rode the horse, no, I never.
And Grandad only never had motor all the time. He was in business that he finished, started with horse and cart and finished with horse and cart.
Yes.
This tape is almost used up.
Albert was the first one who had a motor,
Yeah.
and that was
When was
driven
that?
by a chain. Albert, that was our uncle. He was the youngest of Grandma's sons, like Albert. He was the one who went over to Australia, and with Jenny and that. And he bought that down at Wickford, a market called down Wickford in Essex. And he drove it out, and it was chain driven, long chain on the side like that.
And about what year would that be?
Well, I was about 14.
Yeah.
I was about 14 then.
I was
And,
10 when I went there.
Him, Albert and I, and Jim Ems, which was his brother-in-law, his wife's brother, one Sunday we went round in this old thing we had all round the West End and everything. We got pulled up at a finish by a policeman
Must
for
have
some
been-
reason or other.
Didn't
And
I thought it broke down and the policeman came up to you, but I can remember, I know you had to push
well,
it.
it may have done, I forget
Push it
now.
home, didn't you?
Anyway, Albert said who he was and all this and where he came from, and they rang the Isle of Dogs police station up there, so he got away with it, there's no trouble. They came with a good name, I expect.
That must have been after the First World War, mustn't it?
I speak to well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it would have been
I was about 14, yeah, it was after the First World War.
about 1919.
Did you have a phone in your home at that time?
Phones?
Yeah, you said they rang up the,
Yeah, no, we never had phones in the house.
No.
No, we never had phones. Evidently, they weren't thought about in the houses at that time. Only these, you know, like police or the railway stations or whatever you expect had them. No, I don't think anybody had a phone.
The only phone that I could remember was, I had his name on the tip of my tongue now. Do you remember the cafe or the coffee shop that used to be
On the corner.
opposite? Yes. Well, he had one.
Oh, did he?
And I remember going over with Mum, and she picked it up, and you had to put 3 pennies in, and she would count 1, 2, 3, and then I suppose you would connect it out. And she got through to the operator, but that was the only phone that
Oh,
I knew,
oh.
and then I had never spoken on the phone. I was courting Bob,
Yeah,
and they had one, and they had the phone
oh, did
on.
they?
Yes, and I wanted to get in touch with him for some reason or the other, and I wouldn't use the phone. I got Bill to do it for
Did
me.
oh, I have a few minutes left here.
Oh no, it was something if you had the phone on.
Oh, yeah.
Then of course when we got married, we had it on because he was working for himself. And then you had it put on, didn't you? But,
Dick had it.
well, Dick then, well, he was all him in the family. But Bill never had it on, not for a long time after, did he?
No, but that, we never had it on until we lived in New Cross.
Now, the first thing they say, phone number, and you give it, you know, so many people got the phone on. There's more people got phones now than
Oh, yes.
haven't.
Oh, yes.
And that's very unusual now, not that.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you say Dick put it on, what Dick is that?
He was 16 years old when he had the phone put on.
Who, your son did?
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one who had it put on.
So when David and Dick were growing up, you didn't have a phone?
No.
No, not until Dick was, as I say, we never had the phone before now.
Yeah, they were very rare, you know.
And suppose, say you needed a doctor or something, what would you do?
Well,
Just,
just don't know.
I don't know, you see, because when I got married, we did have the phone. Bob had the phone put on then, and it was very, very cheap to have it done then. Also, although it was a lot of money, I suppose, for him. But I really don't know. I suppose you sent someone to get the doctor.
Yeah, well,
But,
well, we were lucky, I think. We never needed a doctor.
no.
Well, what about, say, when David and Dick were born, what did you do?
Well, they were born in hospital,
Mm-hmm.
in a nursing home.
And the hospital called it after? Or
I can't remember, to be honest.
were you in the hospital when they were born?
No,
Oh, it wasn't allowed then.
No.
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 So you were off at work?
No time off for work.
No, I say you were at work,
At work again.
and
Yeah.
so you'd come home and discover that you had a baby?
Yeah, possibly.
Do you remember that at all?
Yes, I remember, I don't know, it was Dick or David, and Nellie, which is Mum's,
I don't know.
Nellie, that's Mum's, one of her sisters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she became, like, we wanted to go into hospital to have this baby, and it was in the evening. But how we got the compliance for her, I can't remember, because we weren't on the phone then. And they came down, took her away, and we went up to the hospital in Stepney, the way she was born. And we come in, and because we collected all her clothes and fetched home, and we're walking down on the island, and with all the clothes on our arms about 2 o'clock in the morning. And the policeman was there and he pulled us up. He wanted to know where we got all these clothes from. And we told him. He believed us then. Yeah. Yeah.
Matthew was born at home.
They were?
And the doctor I was going to have died. And then, so I had the doctor that took his place. It was on the island. He lived on the island, yes. So I went over to the island to have the baby. So Bob was born on the Isle of Dogs. Pam was born at Shooter Skull. And I had the same doctor. I went up and I booked him and suggest, you know, well he came when I thought I was going to have the baby. He got on the phone because I was a terrible coward and these sort of pains. Got on the phone, he came, well he had to come, well I don't know, have you ever been through Blackpool Tunnel? Blackpool
Yes,
Tunnel there.
yes.
Well he had to come, he had a cast, he said he came all the way through Blackpool Tunnel at Shooter's Hill. And he stayed there eventually because he couldn't go all the way back. Well, when I was going to have Diane, I went to him again and he remembered, even though it was so many years after, he remembered he couldn't do it because he didn't realise how long, you know, that he had to come all through the tunnel. He said when he got back, after visiting me once, all the dogs being there, he said if one Lascar, they called them Lascars then, hurt himself, he said, oh, they all came off the boat. And when he got back to his surgery, he had a whole stream of them all up 88 tons for him. So he gave me the name of another doctor to go to, but I had a lot of faith in him, he was very good.
Did they give you any anesthesia at home?
Well, he did, he just, with Bob, he just gave me a little bit, you know, to put me out there. But with Pam, then you never had, you could have any woman that did a bit of midwifery would come in to help. Well, we didn't know of anyone, not living up there much. And my mother happened to ask someone in the street if they knew of anyone that would do it. And this woman said yes. Well, when she came, she was a little wizened old woman, she was horrible. And she came, and the doctors, she was saying, I don't know what was happening, but he went downstairs and he said, get rid of that woman. He said, she's no good at all. So, and because he did it on himself, so because he put me right out. So, when I came to, Pam was born. But with Diane, no, I had a woman doctor and she wouldn't hear of it, but she was very good.